Welcome to DU Digimon.
Hello and welcome to DU Digimon and welcome to another deck profile. If you're liking this sort of content, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel and ding that notification bell so you're not missing out on any of the latest content. Now this is wild, isn't it? You've not seen my hands in such a long time. Look at them and despair. Despair at my hands, will you? Because I thought I'd do this as a actual card one. If you guys would prefer it, we do like this, as Alex mentioned in his deck profile a couple of weeks ago. Do let us know. I'll be honest, it's probably going to be a mix of formats. Depending on what we want to do. If you guys would prefer I do these always electronic, then let me know. I won't always be able to do them physical, just because there are some builds that I come up with where I just don't have the physical cards, like you saw with Black Garurumon last week. I do not have Garurumon X at all. And technically speaking, I don't have all of the cards in this deck because this is a deck that has proxies. This is our first EX9 profile, and we are looking at Adventure, and specifically Omni Adventure. So this is kind of Alterous stuff with the EX9 kind of things. It technically speaking, I don't know yet if it is the better version of Adventure than the version that we've kind of all grown to know and love. You've got less of an emphasis on the alliance side of things. You've got less of an emphasis on like the pseudo blitz kind of mechanics. Obviously, you're not really playing MetalGreymon or WereGarurumon. I tried to, but I just didn't like them in the end. You could work things out, and this is definitely still a deck that's a bit of a work in progress. But I am liking it in terms of testing that I'm doing so far. Granted, it had a very bad time last night when I was testing it at locals, just because I hadn't got the ratios right. But I've done some more kind of experimenting with it today, and I'm liking it a bit more. Obviously, it's going to require a little bit more work still. And, this is a kind of a process. This is just my kind of ideas at the moment. If you guys like them, awesome. If you guys don't like them, let me know, and we'll work on an updated version of this deck profile when we've had a little bit more time with the cards and we're a little bit deeper into the format. But starting with the eggs, we have got the 4 copies of Tsunomon. You could go with the Garurumon, but frankly, with some of the cards that we've now got access to, that card is even more pointless than it was for normal Adventure. The fact is with normal Adventure, you've got so much access to Alliance that having an extra 1k just does not matter most of the time. And in this, not only do we have access to Alliance, though admittedly not as much as with the kind of classic Adventure version, we've also got a card that gives you 4000 DP as an inheritable. So why would we need it? But Tsunomon is great because we're going to be taking our Digimon from the trash, specifically the Adventure trait Digimon, which very key thing to note, BlitzGreymon, CresGarurumon, and Omnimon Alterous, none of them have the Adventure trait, which is really, really annoying. They were all in Adventure 2020. I know they were kind of slide Digivolutions or, alternate whatever. And these ones are meant to be the DM ones and the version 1, version 2. I don't care. I'm not playing that deck. I don't care. I want Adventure. And they don't have it, which is really annoying. They still work. They still absolutely work. But from that perspective, this is definitely at least a less consistent version compared to Adventure, just because you don't have that trait across everything. But this is going to be basically taking anything else from the trash, and that is all okay. Next up, we've got our 4 copies of the Palmon from the structure deck. So Palmon is the better of the 2 rookies in this version specifically because of the fact it's just a generic draw 2. Yes, you've got a trash and Adventure trait from your hand, but the fact it gives you an all turns 1000 DP boost is great because that's great for your blocking. And the draw 2 is fantastic because it generically just adds anything to your hand. Granted, you don't get choice over what those cards are, but the very fact you're able to cycle through your deck is really good. Our next rookie is 4 copies of the Biyomon, and this one is a little bit more dangerous in this build because, as I mentioned, not every card in this build has the Adventure trait. So, as I found out in testing earlier, this hit a Tamer and it hit Omnimon Alterous and BlitzGreymon. I could add the Tamer, I could not add Omnimon or BlitzGreymon, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. But saying that, we don't have that many rookies available to us. We could try and use the Floodgate rookies, maybe. That might not be a bad shout, because then you can, just Floodgate stuff. I mean, for example, Royal Knights hates Floodgates. You could try and use Ogumon and Gabumon, but the problem with them is that they only specifically warp into WereGarurumon or MetalGreymon. They do not warp into BlitzGreymon and CresGarurumon, or a Greymon or Garurumon in name, because that would be dumb, But, a 2000 DP inheritable and the ability to search our Tamers and the majority of our Digimon is why I've got it in here at the moment. And consistency is something that is, you know, we need as many consistency tools as possible. You know, maybe you could swap this out for something like an analog youth or, you know, or something like that. I mean, you'd be very Tamer heavy at that point, but analog youth is cheaper than this. We can add stuff back from the trash, so that's not too much of an issue. You know, so maybe analog youth could be better than this, but at the same time, we've got a very low count of rookies. This is all we've got in this build. I've just gone 4 and 4, which is kind of nuts. I know. But Adventure can kind of get around it. You know, we've got ways of playing around a smaller rookie count. And ultimately it was the rookie I've settled on. But like I say, you could definitely play the Floodgate rookies in this. I feel like that could be a good shout, albeit they don't have inheritable effects. But that is the rookies. Then going into our, level 4s, we've first got 3 copies of the Togemon and 3 copies of the Birdramon. So these guys do basically the same thing in this deck. They both on play will, if you've got 3 or more colors among your tamers, which is super easy, you know, they will digivolve up into a level 5 with the cost of nothing. They will do it completely for free. They're pretty cheap to play out as well. We can reduce the cost of them as well. And they both give different inheritables, but similar ones. Togemon gives you 1000 DP and Birdramon does 2000 DP. This one's all turns. This one's your turn. Exactly the same as the rookies, but these are fantastic for climbing up. And the only reason I've gone for 3 and 3 of them instead of 4 and 4 is because I have added in a couple of copies of the Greymon from BT21 and the Garurumon from BT21. And the reason we've done this is purely because these guys give us a little bit more variety in terms of the play we can do. The Greymon can force them to attack at the start of main, which can mean we can, you know, ace them, go into our BlitzGreymon, go into our CresGarurumon, you know, whatever. We've got quite a lot of access to blocking as well, so that's cool. The Garurumon adds stuff from trash. It's also technically a security effect. If we hit it in the security, or if it gets hit in security, I should say, it then plays out, which is great. But the other main reason for these ones is they are kind of additional Greymon name and Garurumon name, which is great for our new Tamer, because that one gains memory for one memory if you've got a Greymon in play and one memory if you've got a Garurumon in play. Definitely not every one of them. That would be dumb, but it gives you a memory for having a Greymon and having a Garurumon in play, you know, so that is pretty cool. So that's why we've done that. The Greymon also gives you reboot, which does help you with your blockers, you know, makes them live again if you've swung on your turn. And the Garurumon again helps us a little bit with our consistency, drawing one and trashing one card in our hand, which does help us out a lot. So I do not mind these guys at all. Then next up, again, I'm going to bunch these two together, and these are our first proxies that we'll be discussing. We've got 3 copies of the WereGarurumon Sagittarius mode and 3 copies of the MetalGreymon Alterous mode. And these guys do basically very similar things for their your turn effects. Their on plays are completely different. The WereGarurumon Sagittarius mode will stop one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers from suspending, which is really good for stunning them. I mean, obviously we have got a few times where we might be crawling, and we might just kind of be, right, we're waiting until we can kind of make our move. So let's kind of, you know, keep biding our time until we're at the right place. So that stun helps us out quite a lot. The Alterous mode, which, bearing in mind this is on a level 5, deletes one of your opponent's Digimon with 8000 DP or less. That is the same as the on-play for the WereGarurumon from BT17, but on a level 5, which is, if that shows power creep, that shows power creep. And obviously, the reason I know that is because I've also been testing with the more pure Omnimon kind of deck with proxies as well. So let me know if you guys would like to see that. That one's kind of feeling a bit more like a work in progress than this one, and this is a work in progress too, so yeah, we'll see. But basically, both of these have the same your turn effect. It's just the names are reversed. So when any of your Digimon or Tamers with Garurumon or Tai Kamiya for Alterous mode, or Greymon or Ishida for WereGarurumon Sagittarius mode would be played, essentially what you could do is these can then digivolve into a level 6 with Garurumon or a level 6 with Greymon in their name without paying the cost, which is really good. I mean, if we manage to do this stuff with our Birdramons and our Togemons, we go into these for free. We then go into a Greymon or Garurumon, or we go into one of the other level 4, the other Birdramon, the other Togemon, digivolve into this one, and then they just kind of, they have a little tennis match, because the moment you've digivolved into this will recognize that this digivolved. Then this digivolved, and then this will digivolve. And then because this digivolves into a Greymon, this recognizes that this digivolved and will then digivolve. It's really cool and really funny. Both of them also have great inheritables as well. As I mentioned, the Alterous mode has got the 4000 DP, which is monstrous. It's only a your turn boost, but that's still absolutely huge. Also pivotally very good in Greymon, which again, Let me know if you guys want to see that. And I mean, to be fair, I'm saying let me know if you guys want to see that. That one is feeling cooked, so I will be sharing that later this week. And then we've also got the Sagittarius one's mode, inheritable, which is when attacking, de-digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon, which is really good because then that means, you know, if they've got a pesky potential ace, we de-digivolve it on the swing and no more ace to worry about. So really, really nice. Then we go into our other level 5s, which of course, because we are kind of this version of the build, we are focusing a little bit more on Greymon names and Garurumon names. So all of our remaining level 5s have got either Garurumon or Greymon in their name. So we've got MetalGreymon at 2, WereGarurumon at 2, and we've got SkullGreymon at 1. So let's first talk about the MetalGreymon. The MetalGreymon is really nice. Again, it's another way of de-digivolving things. On playing one of your opponent's Digimon, de-digivolve one for every 2 of your Tamer's colors. These are from BT21 as well. This is from the structure deck, just so you guys know. Essentially what this also does is it has the level 5 adventure thing that we knew of, you know, that only SkullGreymon and the mode level 5s that they are don't have, which essentially is when any of your other Digimon are played or digivolve, if any of them have the adventure trait, one of your Digimon gains alliance for the turn, then one of your Digimon may attack. So that then you may attack thing will happen regardless of whether or not their adventure trait, because it's a separate sentence, and then has alliance as the inheritable. Then you've got the WereGarurumon. This one deletes one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. If your Tamers have 2 or more total colors, add 1 to the effects of effects level maximum. And just in case I didn't mention it, the Digivolve for this is for every 2 of your Tamer's colors. So this can, you know, if you've got all of your colors, then this could Digivolve 3, which is pretty damn nice. But the WereGarurumon, I always thought was kind of mid as they all went, but obviously we need to have our Garurumon names, so we kind of have to have it. And by having these 2, the Alterous mode and the Sagittarius mode can both Digivolve on top of these for 1. So we've got ways of doing that, which is cool. And being able to delete, you know, a level 5 or lower is pretty useful most of the time. Especially if there's floodgates or, you know, say for example, they've got, something that might turn into an ace, like a level 6 ace or something, you know, pretty useful stuff. And then it's got that same alliance effect as this and the same alliance inheritable. Then I've got 1 copy of the SkullGreymon from BT21. It's not the structure deck, sorry, it's BT21 as well. That was my mistake. This one I was playing at 2 at one point, but obviously this one can't go into the Alterous mode or the Sagittarius mode. So I've put it at 1 for now, but it is kind of cool the combo we can do with it. So on play when Digivolving, one of your Digimon gains raid and retaliation until your opponent's turn ends. So we can give it to this. We can just go boom, raid into something massive and just be like, yeah, cool. I might die, but I'm taking you with me. Haha. And then the best thing about that is on deletion, you may play 1 adventure trait card with a play cost of 4 or less from your trash without paying the cost, which of course means you can then play out your Birdramon or your Togemon, and then that then means you just get to Digivolve into a level 5 again. So you replace your level 5 with another level 5. And it has that same undulation as an inheritable as well, which is really nice. It's not bad at all. Then going on to our level 6s, which is where we no longer have adventure trait. We're just relying on kind of drawing into them, unfortunately. I'm tempted to try some form of memory boost in this, but our colors are just all over the shop. And I feel like there's no way of kind of making our colors consistent enough for like a memory boost to occur. But again, it could be a reason for getting analog youth into this version as well. So we've got BlitzGreymon Ace and CresGarurumon Ace. So both of them have alliance and blocker. Obviously both of them can blast on top of an adventure trait or a red or black or a blue or black. Both of them have great on plays and when digivolving. The BlitzGreymon Ace de-digivolves 3, one of your opponent's Digimon, which is super good. And the CresGarurumon Ace bottom decks one of your opponent's Digimon who is level 5 or lower. Which obviously that sounds on paper very similar to the WereGarurumon effect. Bottom decking, of course, is a much superior way of removing something to deleting something. Then both of them have all turns, BlitzGreymon Ace has an end of turn effect, and CresGarurumon Ace has an all turns effect. The end of turn effect of the BlitzGreymon is, 2 of your opponent's Digimon may digivolve into Omnimon Alter Ace. Specifically, it cannot be Omnimon, it has to be Omnimon Alter Ace, Alter S, in the hand. Then one of your Digimon may attack, which that part I've kept forgetting, which is really funny. So when you go into your Omnimon Alter S, if you've passed turn, you then get to blitz with that effect. So it's the same thing that the Axel deck actually gets to do, which is kind of in my brain where a lot of the thought process of this deck is coming into, and where originally I was kind of going a little bit more in line with the ratios for Axel, and I may even try to go a bit more Axel oriented as well. That would be fairly cool. So maybe go 4 of, cut down on our level 4s, maybe, put in analog use for some searching and just kind of make it a little bit more similar to my Axel deck. Cause in terms of ratios, that one does work quite well. But anyways, going on to CresGarurumon Ace as well, it has the all turns effect. It also does a DNA digivolving thing, which essentially if any of your level 6 or higher Digimon, so if this goes, then this effect will still trigger as well. As long as it's not by battle, then both your Digimon may essentially DNA digivolve instead. So go up into Omnimon Alterous. It has to specifically be Omnimon Alterous as well. And, that is going to be really nice. And both of them also pivotally have inheritables, which again is why I went with these two as opposed to BT21-102 and WereGarurumon, because they will not give Omnimon Alterous any sort of inheritable effects. You can still go into Omnimon Alterous with them. That's not a problem. But the issue is, well, saying that, you have to then hard DNA into them. Whereas these have effects to actually DNA into Omnimon Alterous, and they have the inheritable effects. So I just think they're the better pick if you're trying to build this build specifically. Again, whether or not this is better than the typical adventure deck remains to be seen. But both of them have their inheritable effects, giving security step +1 with the BlitzGreymon Ace, and this Digimon's attack target cannot change over on the CresGarurumon Ace, which is very, very cool. Then onto the big guy himself, onto Omnimon Alter S. I've got for 3 copies of this. Obviously, this is proxies, and we could maybe bump up to 4, if I do what I mentioned earlier and kind of try and make this a bit more like my Axel ratios. But, French Omnimon is of course back once again. Apologies to any French, people watching. You probably are offended by that. I'm deeply apologetic. Feel free to respond back with some form of shit English accent, as recompense. But anyways, Omnimon Alterous is really cool. Unfortunately, he has no keywords, which is, I feel like most level 7s, even if they're fairly busted in terms of their effects like this is, they just still have all of the keywords. I mean, look at, Omnimon Ace, for example. That's got raid and it's got blocker and it's a board wipe. It doesn't have immunity, but it's still a board wipe. But this does have immunity. So this actually has an errata already, which is so fucking funny because the set's not even out yet. We've already got an errata on this, but essentially is if DNA digivolving, your opponent's effects do not affect this Digimon. On the card, it says Digimon's effects. In reality, it's all of your opponent's effects. So it just has straight up immunity until the end of your opponent's turn, which is absolutely fantastic. Then after that as well, it deletes all of your opponent's Digimon with the highest level. So if they're all level 6, they will all die. If they're all level 5, they will all die. If they're all level 4, etc., etc. Because of the fact it's always delete all of their Digimon with the highest level, if they haven't gone particularly wide and they don't have, or they've got like a big disparity in terms of the variety of their levels, it might not delete that much, but it's still really good. Then end of attack, which is where this guy is very interesting, is you may play 1 card with Greymon in its name, or the version 1 trait, and 1 card with Garurumon in its name, or the version 2 trait from this Digimon's Digivolution cards without paying the costs. If this effect played, place this Digimon as your top security card. So if you manage to do that on your turn, and then you play out, because obviously these are aces, you don't really want them to, give up the overflow. You swing with this, you play these out, this goes into security. If you've got another one in hand, you just frickin' do it again, which is so stupid. And it's why I actually really love it in Omnimon. So, let me know if you guys want to see that, and I will get working on that, more. Cause it's so dumb. It just gives you your DNA targets again, without any sort of, recompense. Because obviously the thing with DNA digivolving, and I've always found this a bit dumb with DNA digivolving, is, these get played out and they don't have rush. But the moment you DNA digivolve, it essentially gains rush and then can attack. I've always found that such a strange thing in the card game. Cause surely you would think, oh yeah, it must recognize these as being played this turn. But no, it doesn't. It essentially just gives you rush. If anyone's got like the exact wording for the ruling, feel free to put that in the comments below. I do not have that committed to memory and probably never will, I'll be honest. Next we're going into our Tamers. First up, 2 of the new guys. Tai and Matt. I mean, this is the Tai and Matt show in terms of the tamers. On play, you may return one Digimon with Greymon, Garurumon, or Omnimon from your trash. And if you didn't, draw one. So you can get a choice there. So even if you have got the right targets in your trash, if you've already got them in hand, then you can just draw one instead, which is not bad. And then, like I kind of mentioned earlier, this has an all turns effect when any of your Digimon are played or Digivolved, by suspending this tamer. If you've got a Greymon in play, gain one memory. And if you've got a Garurumon in play, gain one memory. So it's really, really nice for that. It's kind of really helps us out. I mean, I did try and play this at 3 copies. I even tried playing it at 4 copies, and ultimately I found it a little bit kind of harder to balance in terms of the rest of the ratios. So I did end up going back down to 2. Plus the issue, obviously, in this build, we have one way of being able to play out tamers for free, and that is by playing another tamer, which is not ideal. So the 4 cost can be a bit of a bother. And by having them at a 2-2-2 ratio, it means we can equally find our colors rather than finding too much of one color, which is what I did find in my testing. When I had this at 3 or 4, I kept finding this, and it was like, okay, I've got red and blue, but I need one more color so I can do my digivolving shenanigans. You know. The next tamer is the secret rare Tai. So sets us to 3, which is fantastic. Gives us a draw when something attacks, which is pivotal in this because of the consistency. And then, as I mentioned, this is the tamer that allows us to play out stuff. So you may play one adventure trait or hero trait card with a play cost of 2 or less. So it's cards, so anything Digimon, or tamer, not options, because they do not get played. They are used. For each of your tamer's colors, you add 1 to the effect's play cost maximum. So it counts itself. So that means a 3 cost. You've got this out. That's a 5 cost. You've got your other tamers out, so that adds 2 more colors. Then, it keeps going up and up and up, which is really, really nice. Then, speaking of tamers, we've got 2 copies of Tai and Izzy. Just forget Izzy's here. This is the Tai Mat show. Izzy is just a small mat. It's just there. Or he's a small Tai. He's a smart Tai. He's a smart Tai. It's been a long week. A long and emotional week. Anyways, when any Digimon card with the adventure trait would be played from your hand, by suspending this tamer, reduce the cost by 1, which is great. And the opponent's turn, all of your Digimon with the adventure trait gain blocker. So obviously your Blitz, your Cress, and your Omnimon Alterous will not gain blocker, but luckily Blitz and Cress already have it. And by the time you got into Omnimon Alterous, you're probably not going to be worrying about blocking anyway. And then our last tamer is 2 copies of the Matt and TK, just to round out our colors. Obviously, this is the great thing about Adventure Deck now, is we no longer have to rely on the sub protagonist adventure guys. We don't have to worry about Sora or Kari or Joe Mama or Mimi. We've just got lovely, lovely colors, nice and succinct on each one of our tamers, just by playing out one of them. Black, green, purple, yellow, red, blue, white. So we've got all of the colors, which is fantastic. So we no longer need the kind of the more awkward ones, even though they can be good for the memory game. But Matt and TK, which again, TK is just a small map. Let's be honest. When any Digimon with the adventure trait we play, just like with the Tai and Izzy, we are suspending this and reducing the play cost by 1. And then, of course, we have also got all of your level 5 or higher Digimon with the adventure trait gain Rush. So that will only be on your adventure trait Digimon. So again, Blitz, Cress, and Omnimon Alterous will not gain that, but Omnimon Alterous gets it anyway from the DNA. So we don't even need it. But all of our other stuff will get it, which is not bad at all. And then our last 4 cards is our option, which is just option. That's it. Which is our Courage United. So 3 cost for a draw 2 is fairly expensive, but it does go into our battle area, which is very cool. And obviously any sort of draw in this deck when consistency is an issue will really help us. All turns when any of your level 5 or higher Digimon would leave the battle area, delay, you may play 1 level 5 or lower Digimon card with the adventure trait from your hand without paying the cost. So it counts any Digimon as leaving the battle area for its trigger, but it can only play out a level 5 or lower adventure trait Digimon. Which is fine because all of our Digimon in the deck that are level 5 or lower are adventure traits, but pivotally, it does count when Omnimon Alterous would leave the battle area, and it counts when Blitz and Crest do, which also is kind of funny because it's not come up for me because I've not done it yet, but because Omnimon Alter S leaves to go into security, that would class as leaving the battle area. At least that would be by my understanding, because, you know, it's going to go, you know, but then again, it is still classed as a Digimon. So let me know in the comments if that's a thing. Again, it's not come up for me, so I don't know for definite if that is a rule or not. You know, but that is the deck, guys. I hope you guys like it. Like I say, it is a work in progress and it is the first EX9 deck. And no doubt we will have an update when we are, you know, even happier with this deck. I mean, I am pretty happy with it, with all the theory. It's mainly, I think, a piloting thing. I need to learn more about the piloting side of this build. Because, like, I see adventure cards and I think, okay, oh, cool. Swing, alliance, swing, alliance. And then it's like, actually, no, this version, we don't necessarily want to be doing that all the time. And again, let me know if you guys want me to continue trying to do, you know, this sort of format with the camera and the hands, the beautiful hands, you know, and with cards, or at the very least with proxies. You know, like I say, I won't be able to do it every time just because, you know, you guys know me at this point. I will come up with random decks that I just don't own the cards for and I don't have proxies for. And I will just need to do it on DCGO or on Digimon Deck Builder, whatever. But anyways, like, subscribe, ding that notification bell, and I hope you guys enjoyed this and look forward to our Greymon video later in the week. But until then, keep it digital.